Welcome to the news agenda for whenever I damn well please. Take some time off and look what happens. The pandemic ends and the first salvo of World War III start. I mean, I can't trust you with anything, Zelensky. Apparently trans people are now groomers too. I don't know if you can see me, but I can barely groom myself today. Then like the Supreme Court goes all in on the fascism. The EPA can't fight carbon in the atmosphere. Religious schools get money in Maine. Then public prayer by government employees is cool too. Oh wait, it doesn't end there. No. One of the more devastating rulings came when they decided that people under arrest don't need to be told their Miranda rights. What other TV tropes will fall under the gavel of this conservative bullshit now? And then, you know, the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade was not only leaked, but released just when we were the most expecting it. And now this past weekend, the Supreme Court asked Maryland and Virginia to keep people from picketing at the justices' homes. Reports are that they don't like people harassing them wherever they go. Maybe they should make better decisions. In completely unrelated news, anti-abortion lawmakers are looking to craft legislation that prevents pregnant women from crossing state lines to get an abortion. Some say this is just the right time to invest in companies that produce pregnancy tests, given that half of America will seemingly require women crossing a state line. Speaking of crossing state lines, Rockford, Illinois has been without abortion services for years until now. Now, Rockford is about 10 miles south of Wisconsin, which is one of the states which may ban abortion. So a Wisconsin doctor is moving from Wisconsin to Rockford, which is finally a good answer to the age-old question, you moved to Rockford? Why? As you may know, the News Agenda has its headquarters in Rockford, Illinois. And while I jest about Rockford, some people like certain parts of the region, such as the many campgrounds. I asked one of my local comedian colleagues, Josh Fred, to talk about his passions, camping in Illinois.
Hello, I'd like to talk to everyone about camping and how great camping is. And I just want to let anyone know that if you're in a state that's not great for camping, like say Ohio, if you want to come to Illinois and camp with me, I'm all for it. I would love people to go camping with. I've got a tent that hardly gets used. I've got some extra sleeping bags. I've got a hammock. I've got bug spray. And I would love for people to go camping with. Now, if you need me to drive you to Planned Parenthood, I'm all for that as well. But we are going to go kayaking afterwards. And then let me assure you that if there's any law enforcement out there seeing this video who think that I'm suggesting doing anything illegal, let me assure you that I am indeed one of those spineless libs who will virtue signal on social media but doesn't actually do anything.
Thanks, Josh. In completely unrelated news, quite literally, good news. R. Kelly has been sentenced to 30 years in jail. His attorney said that the sentence seemed excessive, especially since orange is not Mr. Kelly's color. In dead body news, police have launched an investigation into a southern Indiana funeral home where over 30 bodies were discovered. Some of them had even reached a, quote, advanced stages of decomposition. In the funeral home's defense, the bodies were dead when they got them. Also in dead body news, a baby woolly mammoth was discovered in the Canadian Yukon. The 30,000-year-old corpse was found by gold miners. This mummified specimen was nearly perfectly preserved in old mud in the permafrost. Scientists estimate the mammoth was about a month old when it died, and those who found the corpse said it was about the size of a white-tailed deer. No reports, unfortunately, on how it tastes. In ball business news, in light of the recent Roe v. Wade overturning, some urologists are seeing a spike in requested vasectomies. It turns out that most of the men weren't concerned about abortion. This is just a coincidence. They want to win No Nut November by a technicality. In America news, a white nationalist group marched down Boston's Freedom Trail this past weekend. Turns out, though, they were just looking for the railroad. In food news, Taco Bell is testing a new menu item based on the classic Cheez-It cracker. The Surgeon General released information that says this item might elevate the average American's cheese level to dangerous heights. It's just a warning. Latest hearings about the January 6th insurrection were clearly interesting, with Cassidy Hutchinson taking a stand and testifying about the former president's activities, from throwing temper tantrums and throwing food and trying to attack Secret Service in a temper tantrum, to a temper tantrum about the crowd size again. What is it with the crowd size? When asked to comment about the former staffer's position, the former president issued a statement that said he had no idea who she was, but she was probably Antifa. Airbnb is permanently banning house parties, so it seems like someone didn't get an invite to the orgy. However, in order to enforce this, they created a phone number for neighbors to report the offenders. They're calling it the Party Pooper Hotline. Senators Joe Manchin and Susan Collins told reporters that they were, quote-unquote, misled by some of the recent Supreme Court nominees about their position about Roe v. Wade. So take that, pregnant people. The senators were lied to as well. And here we have Josh Fred discussing recent comments from AOC regarding lying people, going to be on the Supreme Court.
I'd also like to talk a little bit about recent comments that from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who was saying that we should look into impeaching justices such as Brett Kavanaugh, who lied on their confirmation when they were saying that they would uphold Roe v. Wade. And I want to say that I am all for this. Not for this, though, is Brett Kavanaugh. He was reportedly saying in response to these comments, AOC, she's got some mouth on her, doesn't she? But back in the day, I could have gone for a girl like her. These leftist girls, the great thing about them is if you knock them up, they don't stay knocked up. Now, even with everything lately, I'm sure they'll figure something out. They can throw themselves down a staircase, whatever it takes, they'll figure it out. Is that a recording device under that keg? Also experiencing some heat from the recent Supreme Court decision on Roe v. Wade is Justice Clarence Thomas, who, in addition to being an aficionado of bestiality porn, is also suggested in his recent ruling that rulings on contraceptive, sodomy, and gay marriage should also be revisited. Now, in response to this, I would like to give a little bit of a history lesson, and that's reminding those who may not have been alive during that time that when he was being confirmed, there was a woman, Anita Hill, who had some credible accusations of sexual harassment that failed to derail his confirmation. Now, there were 4 women who could have testified to back up her accusations, but Senate Judiciary Committee Chair Joe Biden wouldn't let them. So if anyone is looking to blame Biden for this, you actually kind of sort of have a case in this. Kind of, sort of. But let me make it clear that all of this was inevitable the second that Trump was elected. So my silver lining here is to be just a little bit smug in, I told you so.
Thanks again, Josh. So that's the news at Jen for whatever day I put this up. Yeah, it's been a minute, so check out the Patreon. We're still there. And all the money there goes right to queer-coded authors and keeping the site going. So I appreciate any support you can throw our way. And remember, I love you.